Ranked the number 10 recruit in the 2022 class, according to Prep Volleyball, Kerry Keefe helped lead the Marymount High School girls volleyball team to a perfect 35-0 record, state title, and a number 1 national ranking. En route to their historic finish, Marymount also finished first in the Nike Tournament of Champions Southwest, the Geico Women's Girls Volleyball Invitational, and the prestigious Durango Fall Classic Tournament, after which Keefe was named to the all-tournament team. In the summer of 2021, the Sunshine Volleyball Club team won the 17 Open Championship at the Girls Junior National Champs in Las Vegas, Nevada. After an exceptional performance all tournament long, Kerry was named to the 17 Open all-tournament team. She also claimed gold at the 18s Open division in Phoenix and was the 2022 USA Volleyball All-American Junior National All-Tournament Team selection. One of 24 high school athletes from around the country selected to train with USA Volleyball U18 Girls National Team during the summer of 2022 in Anaheim, California. A cum laude nominee and recipient of the General Excellence Award at her high school, Kerry served on the student council for 2 years. It was my pleasure to have Kerry on the podcast. I've now known her family. I was doing the math for almost 10 years. I think 9 to be exact, and gotten to know the family very, very well. And it's very fun to hear her talk about on this episode about overcoming obstacles and her mindset on how she faces adversity and how self-talk becomes such a huge superpower for her. Please enjoy. Hello and welcome to the Raising Athletes podcast. I'm Kirsten Jones. I'm so excited to have a special guest on today. We're continuing on talking to athletes. So we've been doing the Raising Athlete podcast for 4 years, talking to coaches and authors and industry experts, but now we're kind of going deeper and talking to athletes themselves and hearing it from their perspective as to what they're going through and how they overcome obstacles. So I'm so excited to have Kerry Keefe, who's a dear family friend on and a total baller in all regards. Kerry, thank you for coming on the podcast today.
Oh, thank you for having me. It's an honor. I'm really, really excited to be a part of this.
Oh, yay. So Kerry is a top 10 in the nation, number 10 in the nation player in high school, but it didn't start out that way. And I would love to start with, let's go back to, we go all the way back to 10-year-old Kerry. And when you were little, was this always a dream to be able to play in college, or at what point did volleyball even come on the radar? I know you had a few family members that were fairly involved in volleyball, but was that always something that you knew you wanted to do?
I'd obviously watched my sisters kind of do it. They played for Marymount, they played for Sunshine, and then they went on to play for Stanford. And I thought that was super cool. And I always looked up to them, and I knew I wanted to play for Marymount, and I knew I wanted to play for Sunshine. And I think I thought yeah, this is kind of fun. I'll see where it goes, or yeah, sure, I can see myself one day playing in college. But as a 10-year-old, I wasn't super focused on that. I was just trying to make my 12-1s team and locked in just in that moment for the fun of it. So that was a lot of fun. And yeah, there was a lot of growth there too, for sure, because I started Real Club, joining a travel team for 12s, and we played and we were good. And then the next year, Carrie Klein and my mom were like, maybe you should think about skipping 13s and going to 14s and playing up a year. And that was a scary jump for me, just because that team was super, super talented, super good. They'd been together for 3 years before that. And they were kind of betting on me, and they were like, we know, you work hard, you have a lot of potential, you're going to grow, all this stuff. We think that this would be good for you to push yourself and to play with these older girls. And I remember being like, I don't know about this one. They're way better than me. This is so scary. It was a little out of my comfort zone. But I did decide to do it, and we made that jump to 14s. And I think that was the best thing that happened for me for my college career.
So let's talk about that. So you're 12 when you started playing 14s, is that right?
Yeah.
How old were you? Yes. Okay.
I
So
was 12.
socially, and Yeah, you're in, 2 years at that age is a huge difference, right? Getting, these girls are doing
Big
things in
difference.
middle school while you're still in sixth grade, right?
Hmm.
Yeah. But you had,
I
was
was in
Elliot
seventh
with
grade,
you?
seventh grade. Elia was with me,
Seventh
but
grade.
she had
Okay.
been playing on that team with those girls. Like she had been playing for Sunshine since she was 6, and had been playing with those girls like on the 11s teams, the 12s teams, the 13s team, and then this was going to be like her 4th year with them. Um, so
Okay.
I was like a little bit behind, a little bit new, but everyone was super nice. They were just like intimidatingly good, and like the team was known for being good. They had done really well their 12s year in the top division, and like their 13s year I think they got 5th place or 3rd place in like open JOs. Um,
Whoa.
so they were good, but it was fun.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
did you ever feel pressure? Like, obviously, your mother was an All American and a Hall of Famer. Your dad was an All American and a Hall of Famer at Stanford. And then your sisters were amazing and played, on 3 national championship teams. Did you feel the pressure? And your brother's a great basketball player. What messages were you receiving, even subliminally, about what the expectations were for you to play?
I think the pressure just it came from myself and just like wanting to be good and like wanting to play in college and like wanting to be the best. And like I knew I could have done whatever, but I was like, if I'm playing, I might as well try and be like as good as I can be. So I wouldn't say it was pressure really in a bad way. It was just like you gotta work, which was good.
Internal
And it was
drive.
good for me. Yeah. Um
And you found volleyball. Did you try anything else? I know your sisters played basketball. Did you play basketball too?
I was between volleyball and basketball. I played club basketball in 8th grade. Also had a like really good club basketball team. And it was like I was playing with Kaylee Klein, like one of my cousins, my like best friends. Like it was a really fun team. Um, but I kind of had to choose, and I was like, I like volleyball. Um, so thank goodness for that one.
Yay. So let's fast
Yeah,
forward to high school, get to Marymount, and as a freshman, you make varsity, right? And you're
yeah,
not playing the position, you're left-handed, which is
yeah,
amazing, right? I'm
yeah.
left-handed too, so we stick together. But you're not playing the position because they don't need an oppo at that point. What do they need? They need a middle.
Yeah.
So how
Yep.
did that go down? I hear this a ton from parents where they're like, yeah, and we're gonna go play club, and the club coach wants us to play right side, and then then I have to go play libero for the high school team, and how do you adjust to giving a different assignment that you really had never played before?
So Kerry Klein told me that I was going to be a middle like week 1 of preseason in August. I was just getting to a new school, and I was like, "You have got to be kidding me!" Like I'm the youngest person on this team. I'm like kind of feel confident maybe as a right side, and now you're going to put me in a position that I've never played, make me hit twos against like middles who are committed to Pepperdine and all these places, just like pounding ones. Like I was like, "There's no way." So I was, we worked through it, and I was like, she was like, "Well, Carrie, like this is for the team. Like this is what the team needs. You're gonna do it for the team." I was like, "You're right." So we worked into that role and learned a lot. Really helped me with my blocking, my eye work. Um, Helps me hit my twos. I like to come in even now as a right side and like bang it too. Um, so it definitely wasn't what I was expecting or what I would have thought that I wanted, but it definitely paid off and had its benefits.
Right?
Yeah.
So, and I think that was one thing I tell parents a lot, where they get very set on what their child's job or role is, but it can change. And I mean, mine changed in college too. I became from a right side to a setter. So, but if you can adapt, then I feel like the more tools you have in your toolbox, the better chance you have to be on the floor, which is the goal, right? So,
Yeah.
you're
I
able
didn't know you
to play all
changed
the
from a right side to a setter.
yeah, yeah. I
I
actually
didn't
was a
know that.
middle in high school because I was the second tallest girl on the team. And then when I got to San Diego State, they're like, yeah, you're left-handed. You need to be on the right side. And then I hurt my shoulder because I was hitting so many balls. And so I started setting because it was like, okay, this doesn't hurt my shoulder to hit or to set. And I was a good blocker. So it ended up being like this amazing shift. But I feel
Yeah.
now we get really focused at a young age on you're this role. And I feel like the best athletes play multiple sports, play multiple positions, and are kind of
Yeah.
open to Yeah, to the adjustment. Okay, so let's fast forward to when I started working with the team, your senior year, and you're stacked. You got 5 All-Americans on that team. You're coach of the year, ultimately coach of the year. But coming in, I remember, and sitting down with you and Kelly Bellardi and Ellie Rubin and talking about what do you want this season to be? Like, what was your mindset going into your senior year?
Um, I think we were excited and we had just won 17's JOs. So I think we kind of had just started to realize like, wow, we could like do some big things. We had a super similar club team to high school team, which was also special with the addition of some younger people that brought a lot of talent, like Tori Stafford and Dior in the middle. Um, and so I think we knew that we wanted to win CIF and state. Like that had been something Ellie and I had wanted since we were freshmen and never really quite had happened for us yet. But we also knew like just crazy things happen and like as good and as confident as you like feel your team might be, like you just never know. And like things can take turns for the better, for the worse. So it's just like gotta prepare for both case scenarios.
So can you go back? I know we're talking 2 years ago now almost, but was there a match in that season that was like where you knew you were enough both personally and as a team, like we're going to do this and nobody's going to get in our way? Or was it a build? Or what's your, now that you have the benefit of some space from it, how did it play out for you?
um I think it was a build. I had to sit out for like 10 weeks that season because I had torn my meniscus that summer at that July. And they're like, you could have surgery or you could just sit out. And the surgery was either going to be like a 3 to 4 week recovery or a 4 to 6 month recovery. And like they didn't know
Mm.
until they like went in and like the day of they're like inside my knee and then they decide which route they're going to take. And so we're like,
Yeah.
well, like let's just rehab it and sit out for 10 weeks. So I did that for the first part of the season. And then I came back and it was fun to be back out there. It took some time, a little bit of an adjustment. But then I can't really remember specific games of the season. Um, but I, I think it was a build. I think you start to win little games and you're like, wow, okay, like we can do this. And you start to play more cohesively as a team because there was a lot of like new parts and like integral pieces that um, we hadn't played with before. So it was
Mhm.
exciting.
So what did you do to prepare, knowing you were sitting out and going to all those practices, but not being able to play, knowing you were a leader on that team? What were you doing off the court mentally, mindset wise, to prepare yourself to return?
Um, my mom is big on visualizing. I think she gets that from you. So you see yourself doing your blocking footwork and hitting wise, I could sit in a chair and like hit against, I could just stand on a box and snap balls at the team. Like I went to every practice at 5:40 a.m. And sometimes I was in the gym hitting balls on boxes or shagging, and other times I was with Genki, like in the rehab room, like doing my exercises, all that stuff. Um, but I think you can watch film and you can. I'm a big visualizer. Um, I
Mm.
also was really trying to work on my eye work. So I remember even if you're not playing, you can just try and like beat your eyes to where the ball's going. Like if you're just like watching the game of volleyball,
Mm.
like you can practice reading like, oh, where's the hitter gonna hit? Even if you're not like one of the defenders who's on the court. Um, I remember doing that just because I was like, anything I can do, anything. I was getting anxious. A lot of waiting.
Do you remember your self talk? What were you saying to yourself about during that time?
Be patient. Be patient. You don't want to rush it. You want to be back, but you want to be back and good to go for the long season ahead and then the club season ahead and then 4 years after that. So um, I remember just trying to go easy on myself, patience, like it'll come, it'll come. And I remember being frustrated going back from being injured when you go to jump and like your serve just isn't quite the same as it once was, or your contact when you're hitting just isn't quite what it used to be. And it's so frustrating because like you think of like, it used to feel like this, like, why am I here now? It's like a little disheartening, but it comes back. And I've learned that a lot. And that helps me when I ended up getting surgery, played that high school season, played that club season, and then had to get surgery on it after club season. And so when I was rehabbing at Duke and coming back after that club season, that going through the 10-week sit out helped me realize like if I can come back after 10 weeks, coming back after 4 months is just a little bit longer. It might take a little bit more time, but it'll come back.
And what was there any gift in getting injured? Like, is there any silver lining to injury?
A nice break for my body mentally and physically, perhaps. It definitely helped my shoulder a little bit.
Playing.
Yeah. You play a lot. And it was a good break. The 5 a.m. wake up is like a lot for me just because I think I require way more sleep than the normal person. And just something about not being or like not needing to be like awake, alert, ready to go, warmed up at 5:40 a.m. and being able to just like kind of like roll out of bed 5 minutes later and like walk into practice and like, you know, still continue to rest as Genki like massages your knee. It was nice.
Yeah, exactly. No, and for as we know about teenagers is they need, you know, really 9 to 12 hours of sleep a night. And so, and your brain shifts. And so you're chemically not, you're programmed to go to bed later. So it's not as easy as just saying, okay, I'm going to get to bed at 9 every night. Like it's still hard to do that. Plus you have homework and you've got, you know, classes and studying and everything else and life, by the way. Yeah. So it's not quite so simple. Yeah, the silver lining of rest and recovery. And then I was thinking also mentally, like, okay, I recovered before and now I can come back even stronger. Did you ever visualize about being stronger than you were before? Yeah.
And I think like taking a break or like when you can't do something, you realize like I might have taken that for granted, you know? It's like, oh, like I have to go to practice. And then suddenly I was like, when can I practice? Like, oh, I just want to like wake up at 5:40 and practice. Like, so it was like a little role reversal. But that was probably the most important part for me, honestly, was just like, it was kind of like a reminder of how much that I love it because it's a long club season and it's a long summer. Like we train all summer every day, like on the beach, plyos, like there's different clinics throughout the summer. So that was, a good like check-in, like, wow, I miss it and I got to get back because we want to win.
Amazing. Okay. So spoiler alert, 35-0, you win the national championship. Like you land that plane and it was an amazing season. It was so fun to watch and I got to be a part of it. It was really, really cool to cheer you on. And then you go on to your club season. And as you said, you know, you won back-to-back open division 17 LA and 18 LA, right? So you go out on a super duper high. And then, you know, again, you mentioned you knew you were going to get surgery or how did that process come about around making a decision? You've committed to go to Duke. You want to be able to walk in and contribute. Walk us through, you know, how you decided to do that.
So I sat out for 10 weeks during high school season and played high school season. But as I was playing, I was like, I still feel my knee, like when I dive, like it'll just pop or something. And like, I was like, I don't think it's healed. So after winter break, I went and got another MRI and I was like, did it heal? I don't really remember what they said. They were like, well, you know, like the tear's there, but if you don't have any symptoms, you can play your club season. And I was like, I guess I don't have any symptoms other than the occasional little like, oh, hello, meniscus when I dive. So we were like, let's just try and play. And then afterwards we can evaluate like next steps or if maybe it would get better and go away completely. Cause some people were like it should be better. And it was in a spot with good blood flow. So it was supposed to kind of heal on its own.
Good.
Yeah. But then we went through club season and it just like slowly kind of kept getting like a little more apparent that there was an issue. So then afterwards we got the MRI and they were like, yeah, you're good for surgery.
Good.
Yeah,
Which was the right decision, you feel like, right? Yeah.
100%. And yeah, it gave me a lot of confidence to know. I mean, it like sucks, but it gave me confidence to know compared to when I sat out and I was like, they tell me it's maybe healed, but then they were also like, there's a chance it doesn't heal. So the surgery was like, they did it, we're good. They sutured it up inside, cut around the like torn edges, like you're good to go. So I think that that was good too, because even when you're coming back from an injury, sometimes like it doesn't feel quite right. Like things still hurt. Like muscles are like squeaky and
Mhm.
things are like banging together. It's like not like perfectly pain free. So just knowing that it like was healed and like that the pain was temporary was helpful for sure.
Amazing. So
Mm-hmm.
let's just take a little sidetrack, but around because I know people would be curious about how you decided to go to Duke. You have a
Mm-hmm.
family that all went to Stanford. So how much pressure did you feel to follow in their footsteps? You're repping the sweatshirt right now. But how much pressure do you
Yeah,
feel to go that way? And why did you end up at Duke?
I get this question a lot, and it's hard because there's not like one answer. My family all went to Stanford, all loved their experience, great experience. And they were all super supportive of me, like keeping my options open, like seeing where I wanted to go, um, kind of that sort of thing. And so I was talking to different schools. Stanford was definitely a top option for me, and I really liked them. I really liked the coach, their program. Um, and then I also really liked Duke, and they had super great coaching staff. I I visited my freshman year and then again my senior year, but I remember like loving the campus, loving I didn't like how far it was from home, but I liked that it was different and like I love Southern California. I want to live here when I'm older. So I was like it would be cool to experience a little bit of the East Coast, a little bit of the South. Just like a little bit of a different vibe. Like the Four Seasons when I visited, it was snowing, everything was white, and they were like it's like this for 1 week out of the year, which is just enough for me to be happy without dying and missing the sun too much. Um, so I like that switch up. And then I knew a couple girls on the team and I had met them like over Zoom and they were so nice. And I could tell how much they liked it and they loved their experience and they loved each other. And I was like, that kind of team culture was like super important to me. And I could tell, I could like genuinely just feel how much that they loved their experience and they weren't faking it at all. And I was like, that's all that I like, that's what I want. Like the academics were there, the athletics were there, and then the culture. I like the people.
Well, that's a great point. So, for those listening that may be in the middle of recruiting and figuring out where they want to go, what advice do you have to them on the, you talked about fit with the athletes, you talked about, liking the campus. What were the biggest factors that you considered when making a choice?
Academics are always super important to me. That's like kind of a me thing, so that's personal. But that was big. And then athletics, you want to like the program. And you're probably like calling the coaches a lot. And I guess it's kind of hard to get a full feel for what they're like as a coach when you're just like on the phone with them because every coach is going to seem like nice and friendly. But one thing I
Yeah.
did was I DM'd a couple girls on Instagram and was like, hey, like I'm really considering going to your school. Like, do you have a couple minutes to talk and I can ask you a couple questions? And like, they were all super nice. And I think that was super helpful. And I only had to do that for like two schools because I'm lucky and I have older sisters who had a friend who played at Michigan. And like, I happen to know a lot of people in the volleyball world that go to the schools that I was looking at. But if you don't, or if there's a school where you're like, I don't know anyone and I just like have a couple questions that I want to ask a player, I think that that's a really good, helpful tool. And like 90% of people are more than happy to explain because either they love it and they want you to come, or maybe they don't love it and they're like,
Yeah.
it has
I
its
think
ups
that's
and its
such a great,
downs.
yeah. And to get the real, I mean, because you're right. The coach, of course, is going to be cheerful and if they want you, they're going to be putting their best foot forward. But to get a real insight, like, hey, just give me your honest impression of your experience and what's happening. And I think that's such a great tip. I haven't even thought of that, like DMing somebody that, because usually it's like, oh, you have to go through the coach and then the coach knows that you're talking to them. But
Yeah.
everybody's on social. Like that's a great
Mm-hmm.
idea. I love that.
Yeah.
Awesome. Okay, so then let's fast forward to getting to Duke, and you had this expectation of what it was going to feel like, but you're 8 weeks post op by then, or so,
Just
6 8
about.
weeks.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah,
7.
another month where you're not going to play. But talk about the transition to college, even just as transitioning to college and period, and then as an athlete as well.
So one thing that Duke does, and a lot of schools do it, but not every school, is they have us come to summer school. So I went June 27th. I was like the first of all my friends to go, but I was excited. I was like, everyone kind of gets like excited to go to college. You have a month of summer with all your friends, and then it's like, okay, I just want to go. I want to like meet these people. I want to see this place. Um, so I went, and it's a hard goodbye. It's tough, like lugging all your stuff out. You're moving into a dorm with like people you have never met. Um, but it was fun, and summer school is nice because you're in one class, and it was like the general writing class that every Duke student has to take. It was all athletes, so you got to meet some soccer girls, some baseball boys, some football boys, some basketball players. So it was like good socially to like meet everyone in kind of like a smaller controlled environment. And then every day the team would do like captains practices since our coaches couldn't officially run practices. And obviously I couldn't play in those, which is tough, but I could watch and I could like see them having fun. And then I also got to go to rehab every day, like 5 days a week for free, which was really nice, and work with like a great PT, Drew, who like I love, and Melissa, our trainer. So that was helpful, I think, a lot for me to like get that constant attention and like be able to work out every day and do rehab every single day.
And then once you started playing, how would you compare the experience, playing, being the leader and being one of the co-captains as a senior to being a freshman? Was it a different experience, or did you feel like you fit right in, or how did it feel?
Super different. I think it's hard coming in. I came in mid-season, just because like the timeline. I came in as fast as I could. Like once I got to Duke, my PT was like, it's 4 to 6 months, but I was like testing really well, like past my, it's called the biodex test or whatever, kind of early, and they were like, okay, we got to give it a couple more weeks for the tissue to heal. Once you're good, you're good. But I kind of entered in like early September, and so they'd been playing for a couple weeks, and I don't know, you just like, as a team, you develop a rhythm, you develop a lineup, you do all this stuff. And it was like, okay, now I'm here and I can play and this is exciting, but like I want to get back, and I want to get back fast. So then again, it's trying not to be frustrated with yourself when things aren't clicking, and it's like nervous because it's like, yeah, like people are like, it's okay, like don't be embarrassed if you're playing bad. Like everyone knows that you're coming back from an injury, but it's like you're still gonna be embarrassed when like you swing at a ball and literally it doesn't hit any part of your arm because you haven't jumped and like aren't jumping off the ground, or just like certain things aren't gonna go back, and it's like not even embarrassing, but it's frustrating for yourself too, because like you remember like what it used to be like and all that stuff. But everyone's super encouraging, and I learned you got to be a little easier on yourself, so gave it some time and it came back fast, and then you get right into the mix of things.
Amazing. So the
Yeah.
season went as you expected, better than expected, or like how, as out of a 10, what would you give that season overall for you personally? Like
The
your
injury at
freshman
the
year, your
beginning,
freshman camp.
the injury at the beginning was tough. Like it was tough because then when I came back, I like really focused on my role as a right side, and kind of not neglected my back row skills, but like not, I wish that I would have, I think if I'd been there all summer and I'd been playing more back row and stuff, it would have been easier to maybe play 6 rotations. And it didn't turn out that way, but I grew to love my spot as a front row right side and like gave it everything that I got. And I think our season was good. I think our goal is to make it to the tournament for the upcoming seasons.
Okay.
I think it was tough when that didn't happen. Like it was just like you have high expectations, you have a lot of talent. But I do feel like now our team is gonna be super similar to what it was, and I feel like
Okay.
we have a good understanding of each other. I have a way better understanding of the team and like what we're capable of and like the roles that everyone can play. And so I'm really looking forward to the next season and having high hopes, high expectations.
And is
Gotta
it,
make it to
I
the
assume,
tournament.
a very different coaching style than what you had in high school, or same, or how would
Super
you
different.
compare and contrast?
Super different.
Yeah.
Um, in high school, a lot of the pressure was not pressure, but the intensity was brought by the coach. And in college, there's a lot less of that. And like you're relied on to like motivate each other and yourself. Um, and in high school, like, I think ideally you have like a hybrid of both because some people need other people to like instigate the pressure on them to keep them on their toes. And some people are already like trying their very hardest, pushing themselves so hard on themselves and like don't need an extra force being like, go harder, you know? So it's interesting for me to like see both and play with both. And you'll learn how to adapt to both. But I'm grateful both coaching staffs were very knowledgeable and kind of know what they're talking about and have good knowledge of the game. So at the end of the day, like the style doesn't, I mean, it matters, but it doesn't really matter as long as they're like coaching to win and they know like what to say and how to do that.
I remember with your 18LA team, some of the people were upset meeting with them like further on in the season because they weren't getting Kerry. And that's what they said, Kerry Klein. They wanted her style because that's what they were used to. And Kerry said
Yep.
for exactly that reason, she's like, I'm not going to coach this team this year because they need to learn how to be intrinsically driven because next year when they get to college, it isn't going to be so much about me, or someone being down on them all the time, but how do you find it within yourself and work with your teammates to get to your best performance level, right?
Yeah, 100%. And so it's super similar to what we had our 18s year, where it's like you got to find the drive in yourself. I did that in college, and I appreciate that more. Like I'm already like trying so hard. Like it's nice to like I don't know to let that motivation kind of come from within. Um, but some of my teammates said no. I want someone else pushing me, yelling at me when I don't do it. So I don't know. Everybody's different.
So what does the summer look like? So, I mean, you're probably heading back in a month then, right?
Yeah.
For summer school. Yeah.
We go back July 1st, and it'll be the same thing: captain's practices, take a class. No rehab, knock on wood, assuming everything stays healthy. Yeah. I've been going into the Marymount practices with the Marymount team and some of the Sunshine clinics, which is so weird to be back in the gym and like be practicing with not my teammates. They're just like be like a grandma, and people are like, "Who are you?" But it's so funny. And Kerry and Twan are the best for they let me crash every practice. And when I have to leave early, they'll help me like get a couple extra reps before I go. And then I've been playing a lot of beach. I played beach this morning and it's so fun. Like it's so fun. Yeah.
So you're playing Holly McPeak's group?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Tuesday there were two of us and it was like the first one. And both me, I was like gassed and it was an hour and I was dying. And the other girl was dying too. And she plays beach at LSU. So that was making me feel better because she is a beach player. And I was like embarrassed at how tired I was. But she was the exact same way. And then today we played with 4 people and it was like way better. We went for an hour and a half. So it was longer, but it's so fun. And it was somehow way easier than it was the first day back. But I
Right?
really,
Yeah,
really, really like it.
bike.
Yeah.
Yeah, the hang of it again and jumping
Yeah.
in the sand and timing your jump and all of that and like jumping this high in the sand and yeah,
Yeah.
oh, that's awesome.
Um,
Oh, so
so that's
exciting. Okay,
fun.
so personal goals for you as in your sophomore campaign. How do you set your goals for the year? Do you do that individually? Do you do that with a team or?
We will set team goals that are like big. We already kind of have our like team motto is like dancing in December. Like we want to make it to the tournament. Um, but we'll probably get into more of like the specific team goals. Like we'll do like numbers we want to try and pass or like just general things like that. But we'll get to those like in August or in July. We've like briefly talked about them. We had our spring goals, but we haven't really like picked our fall goals yet. Um, and I think the team goals will slightly dictate what my individual goals are, because you like want them to work together but not overlap too much. Um, but like right now this summer, I'm really trying to work on my defense and my passing, um, and my serve, and then my eye work. So we'll
And
see.
you write down your goals? Is that something that you have a practice of doing? Have you ever done that before, or how does that manifest for you? Is it just something you have in your head, or what does it
I,
look like?
I've done it before. I in my notes app, I have like weird, really disorganized conglomerations of like different things, and like even this summer, I'm trying to like write down like every time that I like play volleyball, just because like it's
Mhm.
nice to be able to look back and be like, wow, I did all of this, and then it kind of gives you like the confidence that you need to know that you can execute a skill. If you're like, I practiced passing for an hour 5 days a week for the 7 weeks that I was home, like that,
Yeah.
knowing that you did that and being able to look back at what you did, I think mentally like changes the game. Which like physically you're still the exact same. It's like, yeah, you did the reps no matter what, but something about like knowing that you did it and realizing like what you've done prepares you and like reminds you of how capable you are and how much work you've put in
So
so that you can
good.
execute.
You say competence builds confidence, and the fact that you're
Yes.
building the competence, doing the reps,
Yes.
and then to validate it by writing it down. I think that's such a great, and the age old example, but it's true that Kobe Bryant would do two, reps, two practices with the Lakers and two on his own, because he said, I knew if I'd done the extra four, then when I walk onto that court, nobody can beat me. And to have
Yeah.
that confidence is probably the difference. It might just be this much, but if it's enough to make you take that bigger swing when it really matters, when the match is on the line, right? That's amazing.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay. So fun. Well, I can't wait to follow along. I love tracking everything and hope to actually get to see a match in person this year. It's so fun to watch you play, and get to follow along through your mom, of course. But let's pivot away from volleyball altogether, and just let me ask you, what was your best experience at Duke and being a freshman in college? Like, what was, if you could pinpoint, what was the highest high that you had this year?
Oh my goodness. I get asked that, and there's like a couple of like funny answers, jokes along the way. Um, realistically, it was probably just like the completely new environment and like the new people. I think it really forced me to grow as a person and like step outside of my comfort zone and experience a lot of new things. Like it's just so drastically different, and it's kind of like a fresh start, and you get a chance to like meet so many cool people and develop so many cool relationships with friends, with teachers, with like mentors. Or it's just like I kind of like the new. Some people don't like new, but it was just like I was just like awestruck by how incredible of a place it is. Um, and then yeah, there were a lot of highs. It was a fun one.
Good.
Yeah,
And what was your biggest learning opportunity? What was the biggest nugget that you're like,
learning.
okay, not going to do that again? Or, ooh, that didn't go the way I thought it would. Or did you have any of those?
Mm, definitely had a lot of those. I'm trying to pick one. Can we like cut out a think about this one?
Well, and I think you're like your mom in that, and I'm kind of this way too, is that once it's done, it's behind you and you don't focus on it. So
Yeah,
are issues coming, are things, can you actually think of things, or can you not
yeah.
even think of
No, I
something?
couldn't think of anything, but now
Yeah.
I think I'm like learning to um not like do what I want when I want, but like more just like advocate for yourself, and like you get to choose. You have
Yeah.
a lot of freedom, like what you want to do with your time. Like if you don't want to do this, like do this, or if you do want to do this, like make it a priority, go do it. Like don't care about like like I don't know. I don't know if that made sense, but I think you learn
No, I totally
to
get
like
that. And it's more
kind of
from
like
a not following along, getting along to go along, but is this something that I truly want to participate in? Or whether you just feel like,
Yes.
oh, I should do this because everybody else is, because I'm a nice
Yeah.
person, right?
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. And like you have full control of your own time. And so if you do want to go get extra reps, like there's a gym right there.
Go
Like
get
walk
'em.
2 minutes and go get extra reps. And if you don't want to feel like doing something, then like don't do it, you know? And like people's feelings
Good.
like won't be hurt, whatever. Um,
Yeah.
so that was cool.
Awesome. Yay. Well, this has been so fun. So before I let you go, one last question that we always ask everyone, we end with this, is how would you finish this sentence or thought? It can be a variety of thoughts if you want, but the best athletes I know do this. How would you finish that sentence?
Hmm. I just want to use the word it. They just do it. Whether it's like the
They
mental
do it.
work, whether it's like the extra reps, like they just do it and they know they can and they just go after it and they just do it. Like they find a way no matter what obstacles come. The best athletes I know, they do it. Um, and I think that's cool. It's probably not what you were looking for, but it
No,
works and
there
it's kind
isn't
of
a right
catchy.
answer, which is what I love.
Yeah.
No, there isn't a
Yeah.
right answer.
I just
And
think they find a way to get it done. And, you know, no matter what challenges come, they figure out a way to get it done and do it.
yes. And what I admire about you is your tenacity in it not always being easy. I mean, it's one thing to it's like again, never have any injuries and never and just walk right in and but we all have adversity and we all have
Mm-hmm.
things that get in our way. And when we decide it doesn't matter if it's 10, 10 weeks, 8 weeks now and 10 weeks later, like some people that would completely derail and they'd be like, "Well, I was going to play, but then this happened," and that becomes their story. And what I hear you saying over and over is, I'm looking forward and I'm focused on what it is I'm creating. And when you do
Mm-hmm.
that, and if it means I got to do 6 months of PT, I'm doing 6 months of PT. If it means I got to get in the
Mm-hmm.
gym all summer long, some girls, I know when I played, some girls would show up to two-a-days and they hadn't trained all summer. And it would just be like, how could you not be working out? But not everybody
Yeah.
has that mindset.
Yeah.
So
That's tough.
having the killer mindset that you do, I really admire that about you.
Thank you so much. It's very kind, especially
Yay.
coming from you, of all people.
Oh,
Yeah.
well, thank you so much. I'm so excited. I know everybody will get so much out of this. So, I lied. I have one more question. Um, what would be your advice to any younger players coming up? What would you love to tell your 14, 15, 16-year-old self?
Um, I'm a big believer in getting the reps, getting the extra reps, and putting in the work, and then just not being too hard on yourself. Because I think there is a lot of pressure and you want to be good, but if you know you're doing everything you can, just take a deep breath and don't be too hard on yourself. Like it's tough to be an athlete. It's tough. You're either like, especially when you put yourself in challenging situations or you challenge yourself, like it's not always going to be easy. It's not always going to be going great. You're not always going to feel the most confident. Um, but just remember that if you've done the work, you've done all that you can do, and just at the end of the day, like it'll be good as long as you're being a good teammate and giving everything you got. It'll work out.
Yay. Oh, thank you,
Yeah.
Kerry. So lovely to spend time with you always. Go Blue Devils. We're going to be so fun tracking you and seeing your continued success.
Oh, thank
And
you
to all
so,
the
so much
parents
for
listening,
having me. I'm
all the parents
honored.
listening, if you're enjoying this, please share, like, comments, text me questions, give me comments 503-319-2209 or DM me. Do the more the hip thing to do what the kids are doing at Kirsten Jones Coach, because we love to try new things, figure it out. Sometimes it doesn't work out. We fall down, we stand up and do it all over again. Thank you.
Bye.